Well, we've all heard of thinking outside the box, but this is boxing outside the think. And this information I started collecting in the early 1970s, and it involves bare-knuckle boxing, it involves regular boxing. It comes from Silats, it comes from the Kali Arnis Filipino material, it comes from Wing Chun, it comes from JKD, kickboxing, Sinawali boxing, just a collection of things that I think is important for reality, so-called reality fighting, that's non-glove fighting. And despite the title where boxing is used, it is not about boxing. You know, it's a very challenging and hard line to decide what is bare-knuckle boxing for the real world, and then what is sport boxing. It's a constant struggle to define what drills and what methods you should use, and should they apply to both of them. And so we're going to talk about that and cover a lot of that information. There are some universal aspects that relate to this subject matter. And I like to refer to them as the outside and the inside of arms. And we'll do that with a statue drill, and then we'll carry on to other aspects of it. But one universal thing that we have to know are all the reference points that we make a reference point with the opponent's arm. He's either punching, he's blocking, or he's pushing you, or you're pushing him, and the arms have interconnected somewhere between the hand and the elbow. There's a connection. These are important reference points that happen universally. And of course, you must know all the strikes. You have to know about the eye strike, the palm strike, and all aspects of it, the claw, the palm heel, the web strike. You have to know about striking with all the sides of your forearms. You have to know about the hammer fist, how at times the hammer fist is better than punching, or certainly better than the back fist, to preserve these very fragile bones on the back of your hand. We have to know all the aspects of bare knuckle punching. We have to discuss elbow strikes, and we have to also discuss headbutts. And I'm very hesitant to do them. Just look around you in the sports world every day. All sports are talking about the subtle and big damage of headbutts, the accelerated or decelerated injury to the jello they call the human brain. And a headbutt to me will always be a weapon of last resort. God did not make our brains or our heads to be impact weapons. And then of course, you broach even closer into the subject of body rams, and then you're starting to get into grappling, and that is another area that we're not going to cover in this particular production. And you must know our dodge and evasion drill, about all the moving and protecting, saving all your body parts from injury. It's an integral part. In other productions, we can't dissect it all completely here. So one of the things that we really need to take a look at is the science and the breakdown of blocking. These are reference points. He could punch at me. He could be blocking my strike. I could be blocking his strike, and we've created a high reference point or a low reference point. And this is just some fundamental talk here. And I've just run these by you, but I am not going to overemphasize the split arm. I'm just going to emphasize outside, inside, 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 outside, and not split and split. And we're just going to bust through this material that way. So when we say same block, same side block, we're talking about this right here. It's the same side as the attack. This is the crossover. You know, so we have a same side here, a same side here, split, and you've got same side here, and then same side here. Reflexive blocking motions. You have a same side block, a same side block, a same side block, and a same side block. Now for the cross, you're going to cross over. You have this. It could be a forearm, you know. You have this crossover. You've got this crossover. I like to keep the splits the same inside here. But you technically have you could cross over. You have a crossover here. And then you've got a crossover block here. Any length of this. So there is the difference between the same side and the other side, or the crossover side. You've got a cross block and a cross block and a cross block and a cross block. These are all across the high lines. Now let's take a look at both. We take a look at both simultaneous contact. Both, and then both. Very reflexive and responsible to practice all of these. And a both block, and a both block, and then a both block. And now, for this purpose, let's take a look at same side and cross, same side and cross, you have the middle, same side and cross, and then same side and then cross. Same side first, then cross. Same side first, then cross. Same side first, then cross. And same side first, and then cross. And then, of course, you have cross and same side block. Cross and same, you have the middle. Cross and same, and then crossover, and then same. You have cross and same. Cross and then same. Cross and then same, and then cross and then same. And then, of course, just to be on the record, if he throws that straight down, you've got like a split where you have a crossover. Or, you know, you might have the same, you're picking it up to the outside, which is why I don't emphasize the split too often. But you have a split arm here and a split arm here. And percentage-wise, it's good to work on some of that. But I think that you're going to move the split to the inside or the outside, so I don't really overemphasize that too much. Also have to remember that there is sort of like aggressive blocking and defensive blocking. And a lot of people and systems will say, well, we never block, we strike. Well, that's if you're totally aware of what's happening. But your body will reflexively block, and those are not aggressive strikes. And so there's really two kinds of blocks. There's an aggressive style block, which I'm totally for. I just think human nature being as it is, not all blocks can be these karate, hardcore aggressive blocks. Sometimes they're just saving yourself in desperation, which would be considered defensive blocks. Remember to block the whole length of your arm if possible. A lot of times people in certain systems, they only block with their hand. And then in other systems, they only block with the forearm. But this is the complete length of the sword. You have to block with the entire length of the sword. Another aspect that's universal to all these positions are something many folks call the circling hands, you know. And you have big circles and you have small circles. But the manipulation of the person in this kind of boxing outside the think, bare knuckle, is an important aspect. Remember that the manipulation that we do bare hands are very different than wearing boxing gloves. MMA gloves, you can still do a bunch of them. But the boxing glove doesn't get into these finer movements because our hands are just big pillows, you know. But anyway, you have these big circles. You have the right side circling to the left, and the left side circling to the right, and this one over here, and this one over here. And then you have both hands circle downward, both hands circle upward. And then you have split circles. You've seen these in like martial art poses or katas. This is why they're in there, because sometimes you pop one arm out and one arm out, and then come in. And so these are important manipulations in the invasion into another person. The circling hands, clockwise, counterclockwise, big or small. Here's some universal problems when we invade, is the second hand. What is that other hand doing? Is it ready to go? Is it not ready to go? Is the fist open? Is the fist closed? Is the hand just sort of a placekeeper that is going to do something in a second or two later? What is that second hand is a crucial question when you're trying to invade, whether you're inside or you're outside. And so his hand positioning is, it could be that his hand is either open or it's closed. You know, it could be going or ready to go. Or it could be sort of like a place setter, just kind of sitting there ready to do something. But is his hand located on his face in a fist or open or partially open? You see a lot of these people doing this telephone block. Man, punch this if you see a guy there. Don't fall for the trap of the psychology of obstruction, that you need to do it and suddenly they put their dukes up, especially like this and all these sport cancer boxing positions, and you want to hit him and you say, oh damn, he's protected. No, he's not protected. This is bare knuckle stuff. Punch these blocks, whether they're near his face or right on his face is even better. Just hit him. A lot of people carry that sport cancer over from glove boxing to the real world. And so is it the hand, is it open and closed on his face or near his face? Is the hand open or closed on his chest or near his chest? Very, very common positions. The palm on the chest is popular in a variety of archipelago systems. It's also carried over from knife fighting, and people strike the so-called fighting ready position and their hand may appear on their chest. Is the hand on the head? There's a new fad to do this too much. So you have to see what's going on here. Just as a fast, quick tip, if you see someone that's in this, hammer fist these hands on his skull. Make that a primary target. But will the hand be on the head? Will the hand be open or closed on or near the rib cage? And then will the hand possibly be hanging down? Which a lot of untrained people will be ready to make that mistake. So where the second hand is a very important thing when you invade in on someone. If you see a fighter who is a trained fighter, this is what I mean about the sport cancer of sport boxing coming over into real fighting, is if you see this guy and he's been taught through constant training to probe with the jab, the jab, the jab. Check the guy out with the jab, probe with the jab. He's just a jab thrower to try to set you up. This hand, sans the boxing glove, naked, will give you a detection of whether or not he's just a jabber. Because you know what I mean. Just look at that other hand is loose and open. If he's going to throw something at you right away, it's probably loading up so that it can come as soon as this lands. So you can kind of see if you're in a jab cross style problem or not by seeing the lifelessness, the ready-to-go-ness of this particular hand. And this is just something that, it takes a bit of training. And, in the actual street fight, there is no second round. It's almost over very, very quickly. And there's no strategy to detect someone, play with them, see how they react. In the real world, that time is not there for you. That's sport ring strategy and mentality that very, very rarely plays over into a real fight. To keep this comprehensive, we are going to show you the Outside Invasion series. And it's a classic. All our students must know this. What I'll ask people to do is we're going to cross block onto the elbow, create a clear path to the brain with minimal or no retraction whatsoever. Come in and get any of your hand strike lists that apply. The palm strike, the eye attack, the punch, You get up to the elbow, you've got to step that much closer. It takes a precious second of impact away. And so that first one clears the path. The next one in the series gets stopped halfway. And we have a couple of options here. I like to show the elbow strike here and the C-clamp, which clears this, and we hit. But we're here. He stops halfway. You clear this and you hit. Then we have this next one here where he is going to grab my hand. I always show the two possibilities. I have a push-pull release unless I detect that his grip is way, way too strong. Hitting it down here, low doesn't help. It's got to be right up there on the forearm, and I have to get this free. But there are some people who grab a hold of you, and that doesn't work, So I have to pretty much detect if that's going to be a problem or not. But I can, of course, just hit them. Slip right up in the hammer and saw style and hit them. Or I can push, pull, release, or I have the elbow rollover. Elbow up, elbow over, elbow down with my body that goes down, and then I can come in and continue. And then this part, he blocks too far. He overblocks. He anticipates the pain and throws this hand out too far. And so we're here. He goes too far. Couple of choices right here. The old-timer classics like the eye attack, the wedge. And you're going to see that term come up. It's that eye attack. And then you have the grab and then the strike. And then anything else that you think you might could do from there. So basically, the core of that set is he does nothing to block and you get the hits. He takes all these hits. The second one, he's in a reference point. He blocks halfway, and that block collapses. The third in the reference point, he grabs. And then the fourth one, he overblocks. He gets hit in the eyes, he gets punched, or he gets pulled aside and then hit. One more aspect of this is the running hand. It's a classic one in Jeet Kune Do and Chinese martial arts, and it's really a great skill developer, and it keeps the palm open and it keeps you searching and hunting for a strike. We have this problem here. This comes up to touch this or protect it. We talked about the small circle that comes in. Here's a bigger circle, and I'm going to try to come in and obviously take a top of a hammer fist or a palm strike to the head, and so on. You can pull his head in, all extra stuff. But he also has this limb up. And so with that limb up, he stops it. Here's a classic motion right here as I cut down and I strike from here. So look at this here. This comes to here and then I strike here. Boom, boom. And then you see this pulls the chain. We're going to see this on the inside a lot. And then I hammer and saw up to try to get this particular shot here. That's pretty much what that looks like. I'd love to pin this, but see, naturally his arm is already dropping down. Worry about that, but in a perfect world, that body dynamic is pinning his limb temporarily. So the running hand it runs here, the running hand first gets through. The running hand next gets blocked, and you pull the chain and clear it. The running hand then gets blocked and goes to the groin. The running hand gets blocked high, blocked low, and then blocked high. And so now you're in this game of 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beats, and the broken rhythm method comes in. The fake and then the strike. And so that's a little running hand set that I hope will help you work out and develop all that stuff that can happen. So the real thrust of this production, the Inside Invasion series, that's when you're inside the person's arms. You still have a same side block here and a same side block here because you're inside his arms. You still maybe have a cross block. Probably not wanting to do this against a double whammy thing. You probably want cross and same side and cross, these various different combinations to cover two potential problems. But at any rate, this is a particular set that involves you suddenly being on the inside of the opponent's arms, and you're looking at his big gun over here and saying you got to deal with the various positions that we talked about earlier. To get there, he's thrown this shot, a push, a punch, an eye attack, it doesn't matter what it is, and I've slipped down, and oh gosh, I've wound up inside his arms, which now I'm exposed to 2 of his guns rather than 1 of his guns out here. I've slipped and I've slapped, and that's the beginning setup. I've slipped and slapped, and now I'm in here. This hand has to instantly do something, otherwise we could possibly be in big trouble. Don't forget to do everything that you've done on the outside of his right-handed attack, you do on the left side too. And when you're inside, you do the same thing. You know, if we've slipped and slapped, you need to slip, slap, and do the same things ambidextrously on the statue drill if you need to. Right, left, left, right. So he throws this punch, and I slip and slap. And I don't know where this one is, and right now we're not going to worry too much about it because I want to say that I have detected that it is one of these loose jabs, the hand is loose, or it's just not coming at me, you know, and I'm a little bit far away from it. So the first thing in the progression of possibilities is that destruction on the arm. And so if I slip and I slap, I can do a vertical back fist to the arms, which, you know, I want to throw as hard as I possibly can. And then you sort of have the salute follow-up if you want to. But one of the quick things where you slip and slap and you got that shot only because I can't hit anything else. Only because. This is why I do that destruction. Only because I can't hit anything else. And so this comes in and I get that shot. Here is more or less a horizontal version. And so as this is coming in, I can take these back knuckles. One of the rare times I'm going to suggest using the back fist is, and I can accentuate them and hit this bicep here. And this is just the beginning of an entry, you know. So this comes in, I slip and slap, and I get that shot. Only because I can't hit anything else that I'm bothering to hit these spots. This is just me, and I'm trying to have the psychology of eating the person alive, you know, busting him up as he comes in. So he throws this, I slip and I slap, and now I'm a little bit closer in, and I can get that rib shot. You know, you can punch with a vertical fist. Some people love punching with the vertical, or you can throw that horizontal fist. We don't care as long as you break something. Break that rib. So this comes in over here. I slip and slap and there's a horizontal drive. And I slip and slap and I get that vertical drive. Because I'm detecting that this other hand isn't coming in, I'm going to expend that precious time and blast him. In the combat, he may buckle this way. I may get that shot in from this side. But whatever follow-ups, you have to see what happens and invent them as they happen. This shot comes in. I slip and slap. This looks like it's not going anywhere, so I'm going to work upward. I strike the eyes. You know, so I give the eye attack. It's very fast for training. I'm just going to tap him on the top of the head. But this comes in and I get that eye attack. This hand is up. I may be able to knock that down, knock it aside, check it, or whatever. We'll talk about that later. And so slip and slap and eye attack. Slip and slap and eye attack. Slip and slap and muzzle punch. You could punch the nose, but take it from me, from years and years of these problems, is that people have a quick reflex when something's coming in, they drop their head, they've exposed the helmet to your fist, and then you can often break your hand by hitting the helmet. If you aim for the muzzle and they drop their face, you can often catch the nose. And so I am a proponent of hitting here. By the way, you see this moves and this moves. But this doesn't move, and that doesn't move. And so punching becomes more precarious when you start to go higher, and you could injure your hand in the middle of a fight for your life. So the strikes, it also could be a palm strike, you know. But nonetheless, muzzle is a great target, and it'll give and take some of the wang out of the impact of your hand. And then the next one, I slip and I slap, and I'm going to strike the throat. And those of you old timers, you know we spend so much time talking about the lion's paw strike or this particular strike. This is very good for that because it's thin and it gets in right in here. So it's a good idea for that particular motion. So you have basically an arm series here, don't you? You've got the vertical, you've got the horizontal, and you've got like a head-neck series. You've got the eye, you've got the muzzle, and then you've got the throat. And this is a great series to work on. This comes out, I slip and I slap. And if this area, it might be clear, I can take that forearm and strike it into the side of his neck. So this comes in, and I have that shot, only depending on the fact that this looks lifeless and it's low. So this positioning is a pretty important aspect. If it's low, this comes in, I can come in and hit here, and then of course you can follow up with your imagination and any type of combinations that you like to do. But the entry point, that strike. What if this forearm is high? Now punching his forearm may not be too successful. You're like, if I hit here, which we're going to do in a second, that's a pretty good shot. But hitting his forearm, if it's structured up here, hitting his forearm, you know, is not such a great shot. It's a good disruptor. It feels unpleasant secondarily, but it's not that great. And so if he throws this punch at me, and I hit, and he's blocked this, I can turn, grab, pull down, and then strike in with any strike that you might want to do. And so let's look at it this way. It comes in, boom, and you hit that shot right there. Look at it slowly. I slip and I slap, I hit. I turn, the C-clamp catches the hand, and I yank down. Now there might be strength here, you know, but if I yank down, let's tighten that arm. If I pull down, that's the shot that I want. And I'll come in, I'll custom make that shot right into the side of the throat, and then I can hit again if I need to. But you see the mechanics of it. The hand was low, we forearmed him in the neck. The hand is higher and it's protected. We hit here, turn, and then strike and then pull. When you do this grab, you have the potential, of course, of being thumb down or thumb up. And so just be prepared for these options. You're just going to have to look at the body dynamic I use to pull that limb down because, you know, he may be in a heavy resistance mode and you're going to have to pull his torso down maybe. If it's not going to open up for you, let it go. Don't do that. Kick him in the nuts. Something like this, you know. Don't forget the kicking part. But you're only going to grab his forearm. That seems to suggest an inside entry in a pull. And this is like an outside entry in a pull. Outside thumb down, inside thumb up. It's a classic move. In China, in Indonesia, Silat, Mano, that's a classic move. Where is this arm? If this comes in, I slip and slap. If this is still pretty much right here, I'm lunging forward and maybe he blocks it somewhat. I can grab, I can pull down, pull out even, and then hit him. Arm wrap, takedown, etc., etc. But you see the difference is the back fist, grab and pull, and then this one here, I grab and I pull down. So just because that arm is there doesn't mean that you can't do something, you know. So you just get used to that. Pulling that out of the way. Pull that out of the way and hit. On the next potential of where, you know, like where's Waldo? Where's that other limb? And what's it doing? This guy is close to his chin or near it. Very classic position, isn't it? He throws that punch, I slip and I slap, and I want to hammer fist that shot into his face as best that I can. This comes in, I hit here, and then this was one of these things I learned in Silat. I strike and continue to apply pressure. This hand raises up and I displace. Boom! And I get that side shot in there. You see that, how that looks in slow motion? So I'm hitting that golden rule, hit this anyway. So that would be coming, I would slip and slap, hammer fist, push, 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 raise, and then hit that same spot again. So here we come in here, and we see that this person has now done that hand on his head. A lot of times it's up here. The new fad is like right about here somewhere. You know, rather than being the old Indonesian style and Mano Kali style of blocking like this. And so it's up here, and so what I suggest that you do is hit hammer fist those hands on top of his head. If you see him do that, that's your target. Hit these fragile bones up here. This is an up-and-coming thing. I think it may pass. I think a small percentage of people will be fatted into it. But be prepared for the fact that there's a bunch of people now fighting with their hands on their heads. In the 80s, mixing systems and so forth, the original mixed martial arts back then, all martial arts are essentially a mix through time. It's just that we don't recognize the chronology of how they were composed. But at any rate, a lot of the systems I saw from the South Pacific and other places, European sword systems and so forth, they have their hand on their chest. And it's just an interesting thing. If you see this, I was taught early on in the late 80s that when you see that, you hit it. And so you hit it in such a manner as the person doubles and steps back. Some of this material was taught to me by the late great Terry Gibson, and this was one of the first things he was teaching me in Mafalindo Silat was to catch that and then pin it and then strike. There's an interesting thing because if the hand is on the chest or near the chest, with that swoop you can catch it and try to take advantage of it. Raise up, strike, strike. So if you see that, you slip and slap and come in, bang, hard as you can with a push. Disrupt them, make it a strike as hard as you can. Next one is a fist check. And this also I learned from Mafalindo Silat and Penatukan Silat, things of this nature. If you see that guy and it looks like it's about ready to go, but it hasn't been fired yet, and so this comes in and you check the fist. With that palm. It's not like getting punched in the palm, but it's just a fist check. And so this comes in and you check the fist. This comes in and you check the fist. If you're going to check you have a boxing glove and he has a boxing glove. It's not unsimilar to various boxing moves, but you know how that padded mess is. This is very succinct and you feel exactly what's happening. This comes in and you check the fist. And then what we used to do is sort of like a double check. You see, like this would be, check one, check two. Well, since this hand is up, you may as well palm the face too. So you have that motion. Let's look at it from this way. This comes in, slip and slap, and you have that shot. Slow motion. And you're clawing and mushing up into the nose, and then you proceed with your guns. Whatever it is that you like to do, you proceed from there. This comes in, and he grabs this hand, which is a very, very possible situation. Very reflexive, I slip and I slap, and he grabs this hand. This is not such a bad thing because I can turn over and get him out of the way as fast as possible. This is the SVZ or center lock. I can get a joint crank release pretty easily. This comes in, or I can just strong arm him over into my kicking range if that's what you need to do. So you can take him that way. You can get a releasing technique, bam, and get that shot if you need to. So now you train a lot. You see people in front of you throwing hook punches and thrust punches. You see the structure of the shoulder, and you kind of get used to it, and you're going to try to respond as quickly as possible to it. If I am here, my worst fear is this is just humming at me right away, And so I slip and I slap, and that I see the hook. And I use that palm, which was once checking here, is checking here at an early phase. So you see that motion. A lot of boxers do it wearing boxing gloves, or Thai boxers do it. This comes in, and then this comes to here because you saw it coming, you see. Now, let's just discuss this briefly. This is easily overcome. If you use your thumb and you're like this, that could be a problem to your thumb. But if you kind of emphasize the heel strike, your thumb might not be in danger, and it is a much more superior interference. And it's not a full-blown honker hook punch yet. It's in its early phase, so maybe it can be stopped. I slip and I slap. Here comes this hook punch, and I can also put a forearm block up to try to stop it. In the crook of the arm, at a pretty decent angle, I can try to intercept this as best that I can. So that looks like that looks like slip and slap and go. Slip and slap and then go. You see, you can simultaneously give them a shot while you're doing it. If you have the straight punch, which is so efficient and so bad for you receiving it, you don't see the bicep. And that's one of the good things about this circling hand. Because not only can it start striking, it can also start deflecting. And that's a very excellent point about this. If this is coming in over here, I slip and slap, and I'm able to deflect that. And so the thing is, it's you right about here. You're thinking, you're right here. I'm thinking, oh, look at all the shots I have. I can punch him here. I can do this. Oh no! Here comes the thrust punch, and that circling limb, the circling arm. You have circling hands and circling arms. This is a very important aspect to deflect the thrust, because you're going to receive a strike from a hooking motion or a thrusting motion. So you need to have the big defenses, the stop, the block, the deflection, to take care of some of these problems. Next kind of option to the thrust punch, super slow. I slap and I slip, and here comes this shot. I can salute this, as we did to the outside, because he has suddenly put me on the outside. I've kind of stepped to the outside, and I can do that same outside series now. His legs are in a different position, possibly. We come in here and we hit. Here's the classic archipelago salute. This comes in, this raises up to here, and you get an elbow hyperextension. This particular fist was originally more horizontal, so the elbow hyperextension has to catch the right angle to make it hyperextend. If he throws a vertical fist, cross, destruction, this will have to come up and down. You might say that's a scissoring motion. And that's the vertical fist, and you perceive that's the angle of damage. And then from here, they enter in and do stuff. If it is a horizontal fist, we're hitting, we're saluting up. Going up does not hyperextend the elbow. I have to come in and come across to hyperextend the elbow. And you know, they do all kinds of captures from there. But an outside invasion, a classic one, is going to be this. That kind of salute entry. I slip and slap. I slip, slap, and start to engage this hand, and I realize that the thrust is coming in. I circle over that thrust. I've hit it on the way. Circle over. I get that elbow hyperextension, and then I can finish doing something. Look at this real slowly again. I have slipped. I have slipped and slapped. I have slipped and slapped, and here comes this punch, and I knock it over. I've hit it, you know. And then, oh, here I am on the salute on the opposite side for me to come in and get that elbow hyperextension and all the things that you do, that you like to do with your arms once you start arm wrapping. Out to in to out. If I'm on the outside, of course, and I want to go on the inside, as this is coming in, I can bob and weave underneath and get inside. If I'm on the inside, I can bob and weave and get to the outside. So a bob and weave is an in and out to in. You have, if this comes in here, you can sweep the arms to the outside, or you can sweep the arms to the inside. So you can sweep the arms in and out. When we discuss the circular hands, you know, we have the same side makes the contact and a circle out. By the way, you know, boxers are big on that little circle. This manifests in the Filipino martial arts through the diamond pattern. Is that their version of how you get to the mano-mano of that little half circle. But so you have the same side that makes contact circles, the same side circles, you know, the split circles, this circles, and then this same side can circle. You have the cross block circles out, the cross block circles out. You have the routine you have to cover in the middle here, which, you know, is no cross block really. You have the cross block that goes from inside to outside, and then you have the cross block that goes from outside to inside. So these circles double, 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 and double. These circles involve the hands doing the motions, and as well as the arms doing the motions, to go from out to in to out. And with the in and out and in deal, we always like to have some sort of a drill. We did the vertical blast drill. Now we're talking about the classic that everyone should know, the block, pass, and pin drill, which essentially gets you from inside the attacker to outside the attacker, with a series of these blocks that we talked about, the same side block, the cross block, etc. Just moves it. That's why it's block, pass, and pin. And so we're going under him to get it over, and you can, as the process goes, go over him to pass him over and do stuff. On this subject matter, we'll finish up with just a couple of combat scenarios. Remember, the combat scenario is king. And these are some classic ones. This is a classic one, a set I learned from Larry Hartzell, 30 years ago. But it's based on the slip and slap. He throws this shot, I slip, I slap, I get an eye attack right away. From the eye attack, I'm going to attempt to wrap the arm while I do another eye attack. And we were taught the front arm bar here. I'm just going to show it to you because this arm is free, and I'm very worried about it. And you'll see we'll take care of it in a second. But you see, I just hammer down and I get this front arm bar, of which I begin to zone away from that punch, and I trip his leg and I take him down. But in the acquisition of the front arm bar, I have it. I'm getting it away. See, I have to have his bicep straight up, his elbow straight down. I have to have him captured in my armpit. I have to get on or about the elbow, and by simply driving my body down a bit, trying to push this down and bringing this up, I can even short circuit that punch. It's tricky to do in actual combat, but this is just these are lessons that I was taught. What you should do immediately is grab this and use it as a takedown. So the first part of the set, he throws this over, I hit him, and then I hit again. I'm zoning away from that punch, and I get the makings of the front arm bar. I step and pull, I reap him out, he hits the deck. So this comes in. As I wrap, this is a hook, I stop it, I hit him, I pull him down. He throws this punch. In the course of me doing this comes the hook punch. I block it with a forearm. I take my forearm or hammer fist and I hammer him right in the carotid, which is a terrific stunning blow. I can also trip him, stomp him down, and then take him down. And here, the thrust is coming in. I pass it over. I shovel hook, punch him, and then there's a takedown here, if you must know. We have slip and slap. Here comes the thrust punch. I pass it over. Ooh, there's a hook to the torso. Look at the position in a perfect world that he ends up in. I reach under and I grab here, and I can do that double arm twist and take him down. So you can get a better look at this classic small circle jiu-jitsu style X throw. I'm here, it's coming in, I hit, look at how I move in to capture this here. I have this uppercut shot, but I reach under and I get this. Now, let's circle here a little bit. See this capture that I've got here in the arms. That's the capture. All I have to do is torque. I've got an arm bar inside there, and he hits the deck. That's a classic set that you should fool around with. And like I always tell people, I will never tell you how to fight. We just get together and experiment with a bunch of stuff. And if you work on it, you might find yourself there. Once you get it, it's a pretty powerful move. Now, here's a classic Indonesian silat kind of approach to this. This punch comes in and I've slipped and I've slapped, right? And so here comes this hook punch, which I'm going to split. When we say I'm going to split open. So this comes in and I'm split open. I've caught this hand and I've stopped this. See, I've caught this hand here. Let's look at it slowly. You see how I've caught this hand. I make sure it's stopped, And then I'm going to come in for a double ear clap, which is a devastating move. I pull this to here, leap with the knee, and continue the takedown. That is a classic Indonesian style application. We know that the head twist takedown is best applied in a different manner. But after you double ear clap this person, they want to maneuver the head to the side, release that side for the knee, come back to the head, and take him down. So here we are. He comes in, I slip and I slap. I hit this here. Look, I've caught that arm. Here's the double ear clap. We pull the head down. We knee the head. We return to the head and twist him down. Here's a classic one that I had to do for a test many, many years ago in Mano. And that involves a split. And since we're talking about this subject matter, it's an entry to a finish. And we'll just kind of cover at least one split topic. He throws something down the straight line, and I slip, and I actually slip and slap, but this time I'm going to the outside. So as this is coming in, I can't seem to hit anything else, and so I horizontally hammer fist into his bicep. Like that. So this comes in, we hammer fist. If he's throwing a jabber across, you see, as I'm coming in, that comes in, I can use that as the block. Do you get the circular arm idea of how if you're in the act of doing this, it can pick up and deflect the combination attacks that come in. I come in from here, I splash off that bicep with an eye attack into the face, and now I'm going to attempt an outer wrist throw. But in order to make it really work, I'm going to come back here and strike with the knife hand edge to get some sort of a bend into his wrist. And then once I acquire that bend, I'm still going to try to zone away from this. I get a handful of hand, and I'm just going to do an outer wrist throw. It comes in, I split, bang, there's that splash. Look at this shot that comes to try to get the bend. I get a handful of hand here and a handful of hand, and look at the body dynamic. I'm going to put that palm, whether his hand is open or not, that palm down onto the ground. And then, the finishes and all are subjects of other DVDs. And takedowns, all other DVDs. I'm just giving you 3 classic examples here of how these invasions can sometimes end. So what you've got are outside the limb invasions, inside the limb invasions, whether they are right-handed or left-handed. And you have to know all your strikes, all your kicks. And these are tricks to add upon those strikes and kicks to help you get in and invade.